Trump's big, beautiful tax bill got passed from the House. It's now headed to the Senate. And I want to react to the top 10 most important facts on this bill, and you'll just get my initial thoughts. Number one, it makes the 2017 tax cuts permanent for individuals and businesses. And I have to say, I am a fan of this. I am a big fan of Trump's original tax bill, and I love the fact that it's not going to sunset and it's going to make it permanent. And overall, I am a fan of this. Now, I would love someone to kind of argue and figure out like what's the downside of this. I think the downside talking point would be this is going to be amazing. You're propping up the wealthy and all that good stuff. I don't necessarily see it that way. In fact, I see it being more fair for the small business owner, because what we're doing is we're passing down some of the benefits that, certain corporations got, and now it's passing it on to the, you could say ordinary business owner. And so I'm a fan of that, but I'm also a fan of lowering taxes, give it back to the producer, and the economy and the people will thrive. And so that's kind of where I'm going to lean. And so would love the counter argument, but overall, I love this. And for this reason alone, big fan of this bill. Now, the second point is the MAGA savings account for babies. And I actually did a video breaking my thoughts on this. Overall, it's not a Roth on steroids, and it's just the government's going to give $1,000 to your kid. There's certain qualifications, and you can contribute up to $5,000 a year. Your money's going to grow tax deferred. Yay. You don't get any tax benefit on the front end, which is fine, but it's taxed at ordinary income if it's not used for quality reasons or qualified reasons, and it's taxed at long-term capital gains if it's for qualified reasons. So is there benefits to it? Maybe. Don't love it. I think there's other accounts, especially understanding the life insurance space that I'm in. I think there's better options personally, but that's my 2 cents on that. Medicaid work requirements adds requirements for Medicaid recipients starting in 2026. Not 100% sure what that means. And so we'll be open for an expert to come on to break down what are the pros and cons as it relates to Medicaid. The next point is eliminates taxes on tips, overtime pay, and car loan interest through 2025. I saw something the other day that obviously it's where my mind goes immediately is like, now everybody's going to get paid in tips. Like, hey, just pay me 40 grand a year and then the rest in tips. And so my immediate head goes to like all the loopholes that could be coming up. I did see something that they're going to cap. I believe it's up to a $25,000 deduction. So that makes sense. And it's only for people that are in traditional service-based businesses. So that'll be interesting. I think overtime pay is going to be another deal. It's like, if that actually happens, are we going to start seeing people be more creative on how that works? Most of the people that work for our company are on salary, so are they disqualified, or how do we get creative around that? And then car loan interest, I'm a fan of this because what we're doing is we're incentivizing people to buy things, and at the end of the day, I'm a fan of actually that deduction, and I think that's going to actually provide a benefit and actually may even take someone like myself who may not want to go get a new car, and it might just add that extra benefit because I'll get the depreciation and potentially be able to write off the loan interest. You may see that 1-2 punch being a really positive thing. They're going to be sending $70 billion to border security. Obviously, this was a big selling point, I think, to Donald Trump. I don't have a comment on this. If we need $70 billion to secure a border, I think it's worth it. It's always hard for me to look at these big numbers, and it's hard for me to comprehend. $150 billion to defense boost to increase our military spending, including funds for new missiles, defense systems, and drones. I'm not a big fan, personally, of putting more money to the government. I feel like if you watch the movie War Dogs, it kind of summarizes my thoughts around this whole thing. Obviously, want us to be safe, but I think there is a lot of money laundering, I'll just say, when it comes to government spending, especially when it comes to military. And I think both sides of the aisle have pointed that out. And so I won't comment on that other than my 2 cents. Don't love it, but I will wait to judge to see, more details on where that actual money's going and why we think it's needed. It ends the clean energy incentive, rolls back the $522 billion in renewable energy tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act. That's a lot of money. It's $522 billion, and it's my understanding that this is going forward. So these are going to obviously affect electric car sales and when it comes to solar panels and windmills. And so at the end of the day, I don't have much comments on this. And I think, it's one of those things where even if you looked at Elon Musk, he commented and says, hey, like our product should be so good that you don't need an incentive or credit just to buy it. And so it goes back to, I've been very consistent. If the government can say this is going to be benefiting, us currently in the future by incentivizing this, I think you should do that. And I think there's a lot of potentially misinformation and a lot of arguments around is this $522 billion of actual credits, is it actually giving you what you want? For example, are electric cars actually good for the environment long term? That's a whole nother video and is above my pay grade. Next point is it raises the SALT cap and increases the tax deduction cap from $10,000 to $40,000 for most people filing, and this is obviously going to be very beneficial for people in blue states. And so I think that's going to be beneficial. Tom Wheelwright, who I've had on, kind of makes the argument of like, why should we even have the SALT cap in general? It's again, anytime you give someone a tax benefit, you might be losing out on money. You have to figure out, how are we going to pay for this? And this is my big problem with this bill right now, is it's hard for me to see this is going to make it better. Like, this is how it seems like we're cutting things, we're giving things left and right, and it's like I don't see how that's all going to flow back. And that's kind of where I'd be very interested in, is how is this tax bill going to benefit my children's children? And I think that's where we need to start making our decisions. The next point is it limits the judicial oversight and restricts federal courts from enforcing some rulings seen as weakening judicial power. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what that even means, so I have no comment on that. And then number 10 adds $4 trillion to the national debt. Not a fan. Is estimated to increase U.S. debt by over $4 trillion over 10 years. Not a fan of this at all. I get the whole argument of like, hey, if the U.S. dollar is still valuable, if we're growing GDP, blah, 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 blah. I just would love to not continue to increase our debt by trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And what this essentially tells me is all of these things that I just mentioned are going to cost us $4 trillion in the next 10 years. I don't know if it's too much to ask for. How do we not add $4 trillion over the next 10 years? That's maybe a thought. But, I would love to hear your thoughts. And, it would be very interesting to go, the solution, the thing that nobody wants to talk about are Medicare, debt, our healthcare situation, and defense. And it's just like, these are some of the big talking points. Social Security, like these are some of the big talking points. And so I feel like we need to get politicians, whoever in a room, lock them in a room. They need to take whatever they need to take. If they need to take mushrooms or something, I don't know, but figure out how this all connects, how we're going to pay for this whole thing, and then be able to come up with a business plan that says we are going to do these certain things, and as a result, we're going to get this certain behavior. That should be bipartisan. It really should be. It should be like everyone should come together and say, oh, by the way, like this is a big problem. How do we make this better? The problem is it's impossible to cut an incentive. It's impossible to cut a handout, or if someone's already getting something, it's like taking that away there's going to be like a civil war. So that there's certain, like your back's against the wall. And so then the next question is like, what's going to be the needle mover for where we need to go? I don't feel like this bill does that, but I will say that I am happy that the Trump tax cuts in 2017 are going to be permanent. Personally, I'm happy for that. And again, I would invite some counter argument, or I would love to host a debate around someone who, is against that statement and someone that's for that statement. And I think we could have great dialogue. So would love to hear your thoughts. This is just my first take. I mean, we got 10 things and I'm going through it in real time. And I would love to hear your take. What did I miss? What are points that you think need to be added? And as always, thank you so much for subscribing, and subscribe for more videos like this.